I just want to say this, guys. Are you sure that you're ready for the hype that you're about to experience whenever you watch this trailer? Are you prepared? Are you ready for this? I mean, this is a big deal, okay? We can't just pretend like this is nothing. Like, this is the patch 8.2 trailer. I mean, this is the biggest thing that's... I'm moderately interested. Yeah, I would say my interest level is about 3.
My queen, they have arrived. Wonderful. Set the time stone, won't you?
This is actually good.
My empire.
This is actually really good.
Beyond dreams.
What the fuck?
I almost envy you, beholding such grandeur in the presence of your true queen. Now, swear your loyalty to me, or refuse and be crushed beneath the waves. Fire!
Oh, there's a fat chick. I remember her. She turns into a boss. Mechagon? Fuck yeah, dude. Heritage armor? Oh boy.
Surely you must realize.
Is that a boss?
You cannot resist. All that you see, all that you fear, all of it is mine to rule. Welcome to Azshara. I've been waiting for you.
That was actually really fucking good. Like, I mean, who cares about who cares about actually the you know, the what do you call it, the patch? That trailer was fucking ridiculously good. Like, that was one of the best ones they've ever made. Here's your money, Mr. Millionaire. Hey, thanks a lot, McConnell. I appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot, dude. Fuck this, carried by the trailer. No, you guys really don't think the trailer is that good? I mean, damn, man. Like, all right, you know what? You guys think this trailer is bad? Really? You think this trailer is actually bad? Like, give me a fucking break. It's really, really well done. Like, the music, it reminded me of, like, you know, the 18 different fucking, like, all these different movies they have, you know, nowadays. Like, what was, like, one of them? Like, Pacific Rim, or, like, Godzilla, or, like, basically any of these other, movies. They're, like, all the same. It had the exact same, like, formatting, and just, like, the music and everything. New dev, wait, refresh? Oh, wow. Dev Insights with Ian Hazzikostas. Yo, did I just look at 30 minutes of free content? Wow, this is great. Okay, we're gonna have, yeah, wow, this is amazing. It literally just came out. Thank you, Blizzard, I appreciate that, guys. I didn't know how many more times I'd have to duel a fucking mage and a shadow priest to lose out here. But, that's great, yeah, free content, homie, let's go. Make it an hour? It's a 30-minute video. This is gonna be half the stream, bro. Like, come on, let's be honest. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Developer Insights. This is brand new.
Hi everybody, this is Ian Hazzikostas with the World of Warcraft team. And I just wanted to join all of you and give you an update on what's coming up over the course of the next couple of months in WoW. First up, Rise of Azshara is coming to live servers on June 25th, just around the corner.
Great.
I have to thank all of you for your patience. This has been, you know, I know it's been eagerly anticipated, and this has been a labor of love for the World of Warcraft team as a whole. It's one of the biggest content updates we've ever released, and we've been hard at work listening to feedback, polishing, iterating, fixing bugs, and trying to make it the best experience we can, because that's what all of you deserve. Speaking of bugs, I have to thank all of you who've gotten on the public test realm in the last couple of months. I was actually just talking to...
Okay, they sound a bit desperate, but I can see why. Obviously, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's a big patch. Like, it's going to be massive. And people are going to clear the content in a day or two, right, still. Doesn't matter how big it is. He's reading a prompt. Look at his eyes. Well, I mean, I think that it's probably like he has notes written down. It's the same as like most people that do YouTube videos, right? They have notes written down, but they're not necessarily reading them off of a prompt.
One of our QA leads who was telling me that they reviewed over 20,000 bug reports submitted by players on the PTR.
Wow.
And that out of that, they actually identified and tracked over 1,000 new bugs that we weren't previously aware of. The team as a whole has been hard at work.
What about the bug how Razorgore in BWL randomly blows up whenever you kill him? Like, what about that bug that's been in the game for like 9 years? You know what I mean? Like, I know it's not a big deal, but it's not a bug. Yeah, it is a fucking bug. Listen, doesn't know it's a script. I know what you mean, okay?
Fixing those, and hopefully it's going to make for a more polished, smooth experience for everybody.
Good.
Let's
Great.
talk about what exactly is in store when we jump into Rise of Azshara.
Okay.
So when you first log in on June 25th or 26th or 27th, if you're in Europe or Asia, depending on your faction, you're going to receive
You have to update your add-ons.
an urgent summons from your faction leader.
Wow.
And on the Horde side, Nathanos and Sylvanas have received some interesting instructions, some interesting information from this talking sentient dagger that, seems really trustworthy. And so, of course, they're following it out into open waters. And members...
Is that actually happening? Like, are we in plot devices now that are at the same level of like scary movies, where it's like some fucking ghost on like the top, on like the second floor is like, oh, do not come up here, I'm going to fucking kill you. And then there's like 3 girls that are basically porn stars that are like, I think we need to go up there. And then they go up there and they die. I mean, is this really where we're at? Like, I'm just curious.
The Alliance, Matthias Shaw and others have discovered this hidden plan, and they're, of course, tailing the Horde, hoping to ambush the flagship of the Horde fleet and deal a final crippling blow after the events of Battle of Dazar Lore. But little do both of them know that they're actually sailing directly into a trap that's been laid by none other than Queen Azshara, one of Azeroth's most powerful and fearsome villains.
Well,
someone who's been, kind of pulling the strings behind actions that we have seen for multiple
now we know what's going to
expansions
happen.
now. She is finally coming into the fore. She's finally making our move.
Okay.
And we are being plunged right into the heart of her trap.
Alrighty.
So as we struggle to make a foothold, to fight for survival, in the newly exposed...
I mean, like, yeah, listening to the evil dagger is kind of stupid, but, the plot line is not that bad, to be fair. I mean, it's really not that bad. And, I mean, what I mean by it's not that bad is I can think of a lot of ones that are worse than that, and I can't really think of a whole lot that are better, but it's okay.
Land of Nashtatar. We'll begin to establish a base, make some new allies, and begin to discover what's going on in Nashtatar and how we can stop it. Alongside that, we're also going to receive word from our good friend Magni Bronzebeard, who,
is he
along
really?
with Mother, the construct from Uldir, has been analyzing what's going on with Azeroth, what's going on with Azerite, and they have an exciting piece of information to share. They have detected this energy coalescing in different places around the world. It's ancient Titan energy, these Titan essences that were once part of the energy designed to safeguard Azeroth, left there by the Titans eons ago. And with our Heart of Azeroth, we can now go out and harness this energy and infuse it into our Heart of Azeroth.
That's awesome.
To unlock all new power, to unlock the true potential of the heart. The way this...
That's good. I mean, that's really cool. Like, the essences are great. Like, there's nothing bad about them, really, I would say. They're fine.
This takes form in actual game terms is it's an all-new system where you will have multiple slots in your Heart of Azeroth. As you level it up, you'll be able to earn these essences from varied sources, from varied types of content, and socket them into your Heart of Azeroth and choose which one, and eventually which ones, as you earn more, you want to activate. They'll give you a single active major ability, depending on which one you have in the central slot.
So we actually get a new ability. That's great. I mean, like, we've been waiting for that for like 3 years. And so that's amazing. I'm happy about that. So we basically get our artifact weapon ability back.
As well as additional passives that can complement each other. And really, it's a way to mix and match and customize the Heart of Azeroth to suit your playstyle. And this all-new system coming in Rise of Azshara actually complements...
And by suiting your playstyle, he means suiting simulation craft.
Existing Azerite armor powers that will remain on your helm and on your shoulders and on your chest.
Right.
However, the artifact level requirements to access those powers will no longer be increasing. So in Rise of Azshara and beyond, whenever you get a new helm, whenever you get new shoulders, it's just a chance to dial in the exact powers that you want, including some new ones that we're adding in Rise of Azshara, without any need to actually continue to level your heart to earn those. It just makes those pieces of gear more exciting without the feeling of needing to regrind something you've already earned.
But why didn't you guys do that whenever the expansion came out? If you understand the reason why people didn't like it, how did it take 10 months for this to happen? Like everybody knew this shit as soon as it came out. Quit nitpicking. That's the main thing of this expansion. Like, what do you mean it's a nitpick? It's like saying that, oh my god, I didn't like Godzilla because I didn't like Godzilla. You know, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's not a nitpick. That's the main fucking course. Like, what are you talking about? Come on. It's not nitpicking. Bureaucracy was why it takes so long. I have no idea why.
The final major piece of content in Rise of Azshara
They should have changed it way earlier.
Also the island of Mechagon.
Okay.
Where once you've gotten your essences, once you've set up your base in Nazjatar, you're also going to catch wind of a discovery by the goblins and by the gnomes, the ancient land of Mechagon.
Okay.
This paradise rumored to contain ancient Titan secrets and some of the most advanced technology that Azeroth has ever known.
Wow.
And when we go there, we're going to find instead something a bit different from this utopia that may have been imagined. It's more of a Junker wasteland, where the Rust Bolt Resistance, this scrappy group of Junker gnomes, is trying to eke out an existence in the shadow of the tyranny of King Mechagon, leader of the Mechagnomes, who sees the future path to ascendance.
Listen, I'm gonna give Blizzard some advice, okay? People that want to watch a 30-minute video about WoW, they want to know about the nuts and bolts. They don't give a fuck about who King Mechagon is. It's like, you know who King Mechagon is? He's a loot simulator, and we need to kill him, okay? Let's talk about some nuts and bolts, Ian. Like, let's talk about how the essences work a bit more. Let's talk about how, the upgrade system in Nazjatar is going to work, all right? Let's get into that.
In replacing all the weak, fleshy bits that we have with strong, powerful, resilient machinery.
Okay,
but
great.
As it turns out, we actually are kind of attached to our fleshy bits, and so we're going to need to join the Junker Resistance and Rust Bolt Resistance and fight against King Mechagon.
See, he just realized what he just said.
Leading us into a mega dungeon that awaits in there.
Okay.
So all of that content, Nazjatar, Mechagon, the Essence system, as well as the outdoor world systems, quests, rewards, follower friends that you'll be able to meet and level up in Nazjatar, and so much more are all available right when Rise of Azshara releases. By doing that content, you'll be able to earn reputation with your new Nazjatar allies, as well as the Rust Bolt Resistance, which will set you on your way to unlocking the second part of the Battle for Azeroth Pathfinder achievement.
Awesome!
Which will let you soar above the skies of not just Kultiris and Zandalar, but also the new lands of Nazjatar and Mechagon. And I think we're thinking that for people who are playing actively, that's something that you should be able to earn within a few weeks of gameplay, and then you'll be able to enjoy flight once you've earned it from here on out in Battle for Azeroth. Now,
that's good.
That's the outdoor content that I've talked about.
All right, so great.
However, our major...
so they're adding flying. I mean, that's really cool. That's something that obviously a lot of people wanted pretty early on. I do think that the way that Blizzard handles flying nowadays is actually good. I criticize Blizzard a lot, everybody knows that, but I think the way they do flying is a good idea. They have you on the ground for a while, you earn an achievement, and then you're able to fly. I don't know, I think that makes sense. It works perfectly fine with me, okay? Oh, fucking, go put the game, dude. People will come back, dude. Don't worry about it, okay? Let's go back.
Yeah, it's
good, I think so.
Raid, the Operation Mechagon Mega Dungeon, those are going to remain closed for the first couple of weeks until Season 3 of Battle for Azeroth formally kicks off. We want to give everybody a chance to get back into the swing of things, to get caught up if they need to get geared up, to get their bearings, get a sense of the story, get a sense of their new surroundings, and then you'll be able to enter these instances to take on the mightiest foes that oppose you.
Oh, okay.
Now, in the meantime, we're setting up a little bit of a post-season period for Battle for Azeroth Season 2.
Okay.
If you want to do Mythic Plus dungeons, those are still there, and they'll continue to give all the same rewards that they have been. Similarly,
Yeah,
you
I
can
know.
queue for rated PvP and continue to earn Conquest, continue to earn all the rewards based on
Incredible.
your rating that you have been throughout Season 2.
There it is.
The only things that are going away, however, are any end-of-season achievements, titles, feats of strength. We want to make sure that for those purposes, we are ending the competitive season when Rise of Azshara goes live.
Okay.
Because with changes to class balance, with the introduction of new essences
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
new items,
Like, this makes sense.
we didn't want to throw a wrench in,
Yeah, this is fine.
destabilize a months-long season in just its last couple of weeks. On the raid side, however, since Jaina and Unat aren't necessarily going to go to the forums and complain about the unfairness of it all, we are still allowing guilds to continue to earn ahead of the curve and cutting edge for those 2 weeks.
Let me actually look right now, okay? I want to just pause this. What is it called? Crucible? Crucible of the Storms Alliance Hall of Fame. So let's see how many different people have actually completed Crucible of Storms Hall of Fame. All right, let's look, and we'll take a look here. And this will show how many people are actually doing this. All the guilds currently in Blizzard's Hall of Fame. So we have choose a side, Alliance or Horde. 12 guilds. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but this number actually goes up to 100. So yeah, this is Alliance right here. Literally 12 guilds. And we'll look at Horde. Do Horde have 100 guilds? Yes, Horde literally have 100 guilds. 100 guilds have cleared this on Horde, and 12 have cleared it on Alliance. So yes, we really do need those extra 2 weeks. Like, I don't even think, like, my guild is probably not going to kill it. Like, I'm assuming that we're not going to kill it.
If your guild is close to finishing out the raids of Tides of Vengeance,
Yeah?
you'll have the Heart of Azeroth essences, as well as benthic gear and some new exciting items from the outdoor content to maybe help give you that one last push you need to make it across the finish line.
Okay.
But then after those 2 weeks, so in the week of July 9th,
Then you're removing
that's
it.
when Season 3 formally begins.
Great.
Azshara's Eternal Palace raid will open up on normal and heroic difficulty. The
Wow.
new Mythic Keystone season will begin with
There it is.
a new Beguiling affix to take the place of Reaping that we've known in Season 2.
Okay.
And of course, PvP Season 3 begins with all new rewards to work for and more powerful gear all around. In fact, in general, across the world, the item level ceiling is going to go up from 425 to 455 at that time in order to make room for the new...
For more content, for people to do the same fucking thing again. Like, how do you do 30 item levels in one patch? Like, 15 is fine. Like, how the fuck do you do 30, man? Like, that's insane. How the fuck, man? This is insane. It's going to be worse than Infested. I've heard that Beguiling is the worst one of the three. And the problem is that, like, Reaping is good. Like, for you guys that don't play BFA, Reaping is a Mythic Plus affixes that, like, resurrects all the dead mobs that you've killed, and then you have to AoE them all down. It's pretty fucking awesome, right? Because the mobs are weaker, and it's just, like, a really cool AoE thing. I would love to fucking see this be, like, more in the game, right? The Beguiling thing, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be as good. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm, like, 90% sure it's not going to be as good.
more powerful gear coming out of Azshara's Eternal Palace and the parallel reward tracks in Mythic Plus and PvP. And then 1 week after that, we will have our Mythic Raid difficulty opening, as well as the first Raid Finder wing in Eternal Palace. And I look forward to seeing some of the best guilds around the world
Complete
dive
Raid
in
Finder.
there and see who's going to come out on top and
Of
who will be
Raid
the
Finder.
first one to defeat Queen Azshara
On
and
Raid
learn
Finder.
the secrets that she guards. So to say the least, it's going
Well, I mean, really? Like, what do you mean the first one, the secret? I mean, like, it's not even going to be a Mythic raiding guild. Like, let's be honest. It's going to be my stream. Like, we're going to get on Tuesday morning. Everybody's going to wake up at, like, 9 a.m., and we're just going to go kill Queen Azshara. Nobody's going to know what any of the mechanics are. They're just going to run in there and be like, wow, she's dead, guys. Okay, good job. Wow. What was it supposed to do? I don't know. You know, nobody had any idea at all. Talking about Mythic? Well, is he saying that there's like a secret Mythic phase? Because, I mean, if Blizzard's actually, if they have the balls to do this, which is locking lore content and game content behind a certain level of difficulty, this is actually going to be awesome, right? I mean, that's so cool. It's the same as you had Cho'Gall that happened in, you know, what was it? Fucking Highmaul. And Archimonde, there was no real change there. But if there was actually, imagine this, dude. Imagine if you killed Queen Azshara on Mythic and there was a brand new cutscene. how fucking badass would that be? Like, holy shit, I would be hyped up for that. That would be amazing. And Gul'dan and Night, well, they haven't had it. Yeah, Gul'dan and Nighthold, exactly. And I would love to fucking see that, because that's what the game's missing, right? Because that would get people excited to see the world first race, because they're sitting there, they're like, oh my god, are we about to see the cutscene for the first time ever? And I don't know, I just think that'd be really, really cool.
Be a very exciting month ahead in Azeroth and everywhere within. And we couldn't be more excited. You know, this effort, this content update has really been a labor of love for the entire World of Warcraft team.
Good.
And we can't wait to see all of you in it. We can't wait to see you in Nazjatar and Mechagon and everywhere else. While I'm here.
Okay. Okay, now we get to talk about what matters.
Nazjatar and Mechagon and everywhere else.
Look at this. This is... All right, boys. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to take a drink. You know what? I'm actually going to get a Dr. Pepper just for this event, because this is what I've been waiting on. Ian, I better not hear any motherfucking bullshit this time around, okay? We're going to pause it. We're going to get ready. Ian, here's what I want to hear. We've understood that Titan Forging sucks, so we're deleting it. LFR is gone. There's no more random sockets on gear. And every raid only has 1 difficulty. Period. Later, bitch. And then they just end the rest of the video. Alright, let's see how close I got.
While I'm here, I also wanted to take a few moments to address some broad areas of discussion
and
feedback that we've seen throughout the community, and maybe share some new information, but also try to shed some light on philosophies and underlying reasons for why we approach things the way we do.
Okay, let's hear it.
First main area that we always see discussed, and especially with regard to Rise of Azshara, is rewards and our philosophy around rewards.
Yeah, duh.
I think 2 questions that come up commonly are, what makes us choose to update the rewards that come from some types of content, but then not others? And then second, again, what guides us when trying to determine where we have catch-up mechanics in place, and have catch-up mechanics gone too far? Do they undermine the value of accomplishment and the value of rewards?
Yes. The answer to that question is yes. They do. They have, and they have been undermining rewards ever since Wrath of the Lich King. You know, 10 years ago.
So I just want to dive into a discussion of rewards a little bit and try to address both of those questions.
Okay.
So first off, when it comes to updating versus keeping rewards static, a lot of that is driven by the type of content that we're talking about. So on the far end of the spectrum, we of course have PvP, where that content is by definition, you're queuing into the same...
Far end on the spectrum? What are you trying to say about PvPers, Ian? Because you're not wrong.
Arenas, you're queuing into battlegrounds, but you're fighting players whose own skills and whose own power is evolving, and that just is the system that it is, and its rewards keep pace with the rest of the content where we're introducing new raids and dungeons. That's how World of Warcraft has been forever. The other end of the spectrum, we have raids. As new raid tiers come out, they offer a greater challenge, offer greater rewards. When it comes to areas in the middle, though, the thing that guides us primarily is sort of what's the best way for everyone to make use of the content that's out there that we have available. What's going to be the most enjoyable and satisfying approach to that content? With something like the Mythic Keystone system, that was added to shore up and to address a problem that we'd seen in Warlords of Draenor and prior, where we had all these cool dungeons the players had a ton of fun in for the first month or so of an expansion, but then they felt like they very quickly lost relevance after that. And so...
I mean, like, is that... I mean, yeah, I guess that's true, right? I mean, because you do have these really cool dungeons, like Grimrail Depot was amazing. Everbloom was awesome. I mean, a lot of the WoD dungeons, Skyreach, I loved Skyreach. So overall, I do think that Mythic Plus is something that obviously Blizzard would want to do. I just don't like that it's infinitely scaling. I don't know. To me personally, this is like just my opinion. I like to be able to beat something, right? I don't like to be able to, you know, just keep going until I just get bored. I like to be able to beat it and be completely done with it and then move forward, right? It's the same as like in a lot of things. And like one thing I like about Path of Exile, for example, is that there are very few things that are infinitely scaling. So you can actually like kind of beat the game, which I like a lot.
Some added variety with the week-to-week variation of affixes, with the introduction of new seasonal affixes, and hand tweaks to bosses and certain aspects of the dungeons to keep the experience fresh. Mythic Plus continues to offer
Apart from
progressively
Delve,
better
yeah.
rewards as the dungeons evolve over the course of an expansion. When it comes to things like world bosses in the outdoor world, though, ultimately there's something about an RPG where it's important to be able to advance beyond challenges, overcome those challenges, and leave them behind. Whereas Mythic Plus is a scaling system, world bosses in the outdoor world are static content, as are warfronts. And
but they are because you say they are. Like, there's no like logical rationality between why is a warfront that you are continuously fighting over. Like, a warfront, even within the lore of the game, would make more sense to be infinitely scaling in a way that a dungeon is not. Why would we continue doing the Underrot whenever we've already purged Gahun's corruption from Uldir? And why would we continue getting better rewards from purging that corruption in a way that fighting the ongoing battle that by definition Battle for Azeroth entails in 8.2 within Arathi Highlands? Why would that not scale? Like, it doesn't even make sense. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. Like, you can say that, oh yeah, okay, this is why we're going to do it, and apply arbitrary definitions to things and then use those arbitrary definitions. But if you want to look at it logically, it doesn't make any fucking sense. There is no reason for the world bosses to not scale or the warfronts to not scale. Why would they not scale? You know what happens now that the warfronts aren't scaling? Nobody fucking does them. You know why? Because they don't give anything good. The only reason people do warfronts is to AFK for the achievements or for the transmog gear. That's it. That's the only reason. Besides that, there is no reason to do them. I've actually thought about multi-boxing. Like, I'm going to start probably whenever BFA, whenever they close the classic beta, I'm probably going to start multi-boxing on stream because I think it'll be like just a fun thing that we can do. And I'm going to collect like all of the transmog shit, you know? And it'll be fucking badass. It's not TOS. What do you mean? It's not TOS. Like, multi-boxing isn't TOS. What, are you guys crazy? So anyway, you can barely run one PC. Yeah, I know that is a big problem. But yeah, multi-boxing is allowed. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make, right, is that logically there's no reason for the Arathi Highlands or the Darkshore Warfront to be static in rewards, like in terms of the lore, right? Logically, in terms of the lore, in a way that Underrot is, right? Underrot, you can make a much stronger argument that Underrot should stop giving rewards than, or stop giving scaling rewards than the warfronts.
The world bosses that you once fought in Kultiris, you're now stronger than they are in many ways, and you don't need the rewards anymore.
But then why are the 5-man and like the other mobs stronger then? Because they get stronger, but the world boss doesn't get stronger. So you're like the parrot gets more powerful than the dragon. Like, I'm sorry, guys.
But there are all new, more powerful bosses waiting for you in the outdoor areas of Nazjatar and Mechagon.
Good.
Similarfront on the warfront side, we have all new heroic warfronts coming in Rise of Azshara.
That's awesome.
Will offer a sterner test and give greater rewards.
That is awesome.
I mean, and part of this also depends on the philosophy and the approach of the content update in particular. So Tides of Vengeance came out just a few months after Battle for Azeroth was first released, and a lot of players were still really sinking their teeth into Kultiris and Zandalar and the outdoor content there. Okay. And so when we added features like assaults or some additional emissary rewards, we were overlaying them on top of the content that was already being engaged in. We weren't trying to replace
the assaults are fine.
Kultiris and Zandalar. Whereas in Rise of Azshara, we're adding 2 new zones, and we fully expect that the reward structure should, kind of be parallel to the player behavior of shifting focus from Kultiris and Zandalar to Nazjatar and Mechagon. Just as we saw in Legion, over time, players spent more and more of their time in Broken Shore, and then eventually in Argus towards the end of the expansion.
And then eventually in other
and the
games.
reward structure accommodated that. So, to sum up, we want to strike a balance between, keeping content relevant, where there is a desire on the part of players to keep doing that content, like PvP or dungeons, but then also making sure that we're not artificially extending the lifetime of content with rewards after the time that players have largely, gotten tired of it and want to move on.
Who here has moved on from Freehold? Who here has moved on from Freehold? Who here has moved on from King's Rest? Like, if I had to say, I'm a bit sick of it. I'm a bit sick of doing Freehold. If you want my honest opinion, I think making the dungeons scale and the world content not scale is a bad idea. I think the world content and the world bosses should get more powerful in a way that the dungeons should not. Because the world content is available to every single player, and there are a lot of people who play the game solo, and they don't care about Mythic Plus or anything like that. I think they should make the world bosses scale as well, or make none of it scale. It should be either one or the other. Because if you want to make a logical argument for not having the world content scale, I think you could apply that just as easy to dungeons.
And so, when it comes to the outdoor world, at this point, you've spent quite a number of months doing the content in Galtiris and Zandalar. Let's leave assaults behind, let's leave those world bosses behind, and seek out greater challenges and greater rewards in Nazjatar and Mechagon. Now, for the second major area of the rewards discussion, catch-up gear.
Okay.
Now, this is something that the World of Warcraft team has grappled with since the very earliest days, going back to tier 0.5 dungeon sets, all the way back in Classic, or badge vendors in Burning Crusade and Wrath. All of these efforts...
Let's not pretend like those are the two same things. I mean, like, come on. Like, the badge vendors replace some pieces of gear. Like, catch-up gear now, the Benthic gear is going to replace every single piece that you have.
And all these systems have been aimed at solving the same core problem, which is we want to make sure that someone who is joining World of Warcraft a bit late, whether they're a new player, whether they're someone who took a break and is coming back, or whether it's just someone who's switching mains or wants to play an alt more seriously.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that they aren't marginalized, that they can actually get into and enjoy the current content where the majority of the player base is currently progressing.
I feel like this is a really, really bad design philosophy. I'm just going to be completely, I'm not going to be like, analogous or make analogies or be like hyperbolic or anything. I think this is a really bad design philosophy decision, right? In Burning Crusade and like Wrath of the Lich King and Vanilla WoW, whenever you started the game, you had the entire content of the expansion to progress through. And that gave the players that were coming back late a lot to do. And if you were coming back in the middle or towards the end of an expansion, you would have to go through all of the different raids with the other people that were still behind in that way. Or you'd be playing with other people's alts or something like that. And what you're really doing, what they're doing here, is they're taking the content of the expansion, let's say this is all the content, and they're making it to where you're only doing this much content. So they're taking all of this content and they're removing it from the game, effectively. And I can't see how that's a good decision, even whenever you want to logically say, okay, well, that means that other people were able to play together. Well, I don't think that's worth diluting the entire game's reward structure and progression system for. It's just not worth it. And that's what they've done.
And this is something that, as I said, the team has grappled with, because
yes,
the feeling of progression, that feeling of accomplishment is so central to RPG and MMORPG mechanics, as you are comparing yourself to your peers, as you're comparing yourself to your enemies, and you want to make sure that your efforts matter. But we've struck that balance in favor of making sure that when your friend comes back and wants to raid with you in Eternal Palace, your answer isn't, well, spend a few months in Uldir and Dazara lore and then get back to me, by which time you're probably done with Eternal Palace.
Why don't you just go and raid with him in Uldir? Like, why don't you just go ahead and raid with him in Uldir? Like, I mean, like, what do you mean? You just go back and play with him. So the solution to not being able to play with your friend that just came into the expansion late is to completely change the progression of the game and make it to where nobody cares about going into Eternal Palace or Uldir. At least in one of those circumstances, either one of them, right? He can't go to Eternal Palace or you go to Uldir. There is something that somebody cares about that they're working towards. Him just being able to go all the way up to Eternal Palace, who gives a fuck? I kill the game for these, but yeah, they're killing the game for them.
At the same time, though, we want to make sure that we are offering some complementary systems where accomplishments are more enduring. You know, back
Like
in
what?
Legion, efforts that you put into earning Legion legendaries, those remained best in slot throughout the entire expansion.
True,
And
that
was
is true.
controversial at the time. People who felt like they were behind on legendaries didn't feel like they could catch up, but at the same time, there was something valuable about knowing that these pyro bracers that you got on your fire mage were going to be your best in slot for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, except for the fact that, yeah, their spec would get buffed, and then you wouldn't need the bracers because the spec was trash in the first place. And then you had to refarm different legendaries.
And in Rise of Azshara, in particular, we have the Essences system, where there is no planned future shortcuts or catch-up there. The effort that goes into unlocking and upgrading an essence will be enduring for the remainder of Battle for Azeroth.
Great.
So if you're setting your sights on a high-rank essence from Mythic Dungeons or from rated PvP or elsewhere, you can rest assured that the effort that you put in to achieving that goal will not be diminished by anything that comes on later in the expansion.
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to hold them to this because I don't think this is going to happen. I think they're going to pussy out because my understanding of these essences is that you can get certain essences from doing like rated PvP. And I'm pretty sure that there's probably going to be ways that you can use essences that you get in rated PvP outside of rated PvP. So people are going to think that, oh, I have to do arena or I have to do RBGs or whatever in order to get this stuff. And I don't think that Blizzard's they're not gonna go through with it. It'll either be like super easy to get, or it'll just be it'll be changed in one way or another. That's what I think. He says they will. Yeah, next expansion say bye-bye. Yeah, that's right too. You're right. A lot are cosmetics. Oh, dude, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We may introduce other essences that offer different options for you to mix and match, but not a faster or easier way of getting a particular essence that you have your sights set on today.
Okay.
And then on the item front, just to kind of wrap this up, it's also important to remember that you are enjoying the short-term advantage from whatever you've earned.
The short-term advantage. Like, who here wants to spend 100 hours on a short-term advantage? Like, the reason why people would farm out really good gear is so they could have it for the rest of the fucking expansion. Like, that was the whole thing, is like you'd have this really badass gear and you could at least use like a few pieces of that in the next tier. Or you'd have really good gear at the end of the expansion and it was just better than everything else, period. I don't know. You live in the past? Yeah, thank God.
Are you talking about legendaries?
I'm talking about like the entire thing, right? With like listen to what he says.
Easier way of getting a particular essence that you have your sights set on today. And then on the item front,
Right here.
just to kind of wrap this up, it's also important to remember that you are enjoying the short-term advantage from whatever you've earned.
Short-term advantage from whatever you've earned.
Well, how short?
4 months, apparently.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, isn't that kind of the same thing in vanilla? Like, if you get fucking, if you get a piece of pre-bis gear, that's about how long it would last, right? If you're in a raiding guild.
Yeah, but the difference is you needed to get the pre-best gear before you got to the next step. The problem now is that you don't need to get the good gear now to get to the next step. Because right now, like let's say there is no catch-up gear. We would be on retail pretty soon, gearing up as much as possible so we were ready to go into the Palace of Azshara. But because we know the Palace of Azshara is effectively a gear reset, we don't need to worry about getting ready and gearing up to do that. So the difference between Vanilla and Burning Crusade, yes, obviously new levels of gear came up, but back then you're basically going from step 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you just go step 1 to 2, then the next patch you go step 1 to 3, and then the next patch you go step 1 to 4. So it doesn't matter.
Another topic where we've seen a ton of discussion in the community recently has been around what sorts of gear find their way into PvP, and what are our philosophies around that. So when it comes to PvP in World of Warcraft, I think, historically, we've kind of covered a broad spectrum philosophically here.
Okay.
In the very original days, even in the early days of Arena, there was a meta that was heavily defined by gear that came from raids and other sources, whether it's that terrible warrior in your server who got a Dark Edge of Insanity and was just destroying people in Warsong Gulch, or people wearing Shadow Resist gear into early Arena matches in Burning Crusade.
Yeah, you guys nerfed that, though.
Warglaives and so forth. All the way to the other end of the spectrum, where I think we hit kind of a peak in Legion, where stats truly didn't matter, where when you went into PvP, you had a template assigned to you.
Yeah,
it didn't matter if you wanted haste or crit, you were going to get what the developers gave you when you entered that environment.
Yeah, it was so fun.
And on reflection, we felt like that was several steps too far away from the RPG, MMORPG roots of the genre, where stats should matter, rewards should matter, choices should matter.
That's true.
And your character, the avatar that you play in Azeroth, should feel ideally consistent, whether you are in a raid, whether you're in war mode, whether you're jumping into Arena, rather than having large swaths of your items suddenly cease to work, or the way your abilities do or don't work change drastically out from under you. And so philosophically, as we've seen some items from Crucible of Storms and other raid content become relatively prominent in Arena, that's not...
But what he means by relatively prominent is used by every single team above 2,400. That's what he means, just so we can translate this so everybody knows what we're talking about. Yes, meta-defining gear that's required in order for you to compete at a gladiator level. Yes.
Inherently a red flag for us.
I would hope
think
so.
It's okay if, at the very high end, people looking for a competitive advantage in PvP sometimes look at items that are exclusive to dungeon or raid or other loot tables and try to seek them out to get an advantage. Because
the problem is not about the fucking gear. That's not the issue. The problem is how the gear plays out in the fucking matches. The gear plays out that you go into 70% dampening and you're sitting there doing fucking nothing because you've got 6 different absorbs that are on your target. Like, that's why people don't care about the PvE gear in PvP. Some people do, but that's not the real core problem. The core problem is how that PvE gear is playing out in PvP. It would be awesome if you had more trinkets like Maldict, more things like a DFO in ICC, more things like Shadowmourne. That would be fucking awesome. Like, think about Season 13, right? That was a Cataclysmic Gladiator season. Everybody was using Dragon Soul gear, and it was fucking awesome. It was great. And people were complaining about it, but it was more interesting. And Blizzard didn't change that, and it was fine. And the issue now, why everybody hates it now, is because everything is based off of extending the duration of the match. That's boring. It's just fucking boring.
That's part of what an RPG is about. That's part of what RPG PvP is about. It's asymmetry. And similarly, we don't have a problem, as we've seen a lot of discussion about the Conflict and Strife PvP essence that's just come out, and it's coming up in Rise of Azshara. Doesn't bother us if players who are looking at high-end raid strategies or pushing high-end keys in Mythic Plus look at some of those PvP talents that you could get access to through that essence and say that situationally, that would be the best choice for them.
Good.
And do some of them feel like they should now go in and try to achieve a high PvP rating to earn the most powerful version of that essence? Maybe yes.
That's amazing. I'm so happy he's saying this. This is good. Like, this is actually really good. Ian is saying that if you want to be as efficient and as good as possible in PvE, you might have to PvP. Thank God, because now you actually have to play the World of Warcraft rather than the World of Raids or World of Arenas or World of Mythic Plus. This is actually really, really good that he's saying this. So I'm happy. This is a great change.
Can you... But is it still possible if you're like a literal top tier god, rating god, all best in slot, can you go into a BG and just absolutely dominate people like I don't know, like Maydai did, or
no?
Like, could you make videos like that?
I mean, like, the thing is that if you have, like, all of the absorb gear from Crucible, it's going to be really hard for people to kill you in BGs. Like, as a warrior, I can go into, like, Arathi Basin or, like, oh, not Arathi Basin because I hate that one. But let's say, like, Twin Peaks or, like, Warsong Gulch, and it's going to be really hard for people to kill me. But that's not really because I have really good raid gear. If I just had the LFR versions of the gear, I would be marginally weaker, but not to where there'd be, like, a huge difference like there was in Vanilla or BC, which there should be. There should be a huge difference. Like, if you have mythic raid gear and somebody else has questing greens, you should kill them in 2 hits. And that's the way that I think the game should work.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if you're a top dog and you got the best shit and you go into a BG with the boys, you should fucking crush everything.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
That's how it should be. That's the most fun. It's not fun for the person getting crushed, but that's the trade-off. But I think the problem now
is
is
the person getting crushed, that gives them motivation to get better.
Well, it could or it could not.
No, of course, yeah. I mean, obviously not everybody has that in them, but you can't just make the game to where everybody's happy. And, like, you have to have a lose condition because you're right. Like, yeah, now there's no lose condition in the same way, right? It's not like, oh, you have better gear and, like, you just beat people. Like, no, like, it just doesn't even make a difference.
Let's keep going.
If you're trying to push the very high end of what's possible in a given type of content, I'm not sure there's anything wrong with feeling a little bit of pressure to go branch out and to experience the breadth of World of Warcraft and all of its systems.
Great!
The progression tracks that we have laid out ensure that for the overwhelming majority of players, if you want to be competitive, if you want to achieve most of the goals that you want and set for yourself in PvP, you don't need to look outside the PvP gearing system to do that.
Good!
Similarly, if you want to complete our raids or complete Mythic Keystone achievements, you can do those without needing to get gear from PvP.
Right.
But if there are situational advantages to doing so, to crossing over, to experiencing all types of the game, that also serves as a reward for those players who are able to maintain a level of accomplishment and achievement in all parts of the game. And that's not something we want to sacrifice or dispense with. Now, all of that aside, that has nothing to do with the actual impact of the items themselves. So the biggest problem with many of the Crucible items was what they did to the pace of gameplay. Even if those items had been available from PvP, the problem with them wasn't that you got them from a raid. The problem was that they were overly potent and tended to stall matches and lead to excessive dampening stacks and a generally unenjoyable pace to the overall gameplay. Now that's a problem for us to solve on its own terms with adjustments to those items and how they work in PvP. But it's not about where the rewards come from.
Absolutely.
So, going forward, we're still committed to making sure that the majority of exciting PvP rewards...
He just said what everybody wanted him to say. Like, he just literally said the exact thing. That's great.
They're getting rid of Titan Forging?
Well, for the PvP items, at least.
Oh, okay.
It's come from PvP, and the majority of exciting raid rewards come from raiding. But if there is some crossover here or there, whether it's deliberate or not, we don't entirely view that as an unhealthy thing. And maybe something that we even want to encourage.
Good.
Because ultimately, World of Warcraft is a vibrant, interconnected world. And when players are encouraged to branch out and experience different parts of it, we think that makes the experience richer and, dare I say it, even more fun for everybody.
Wow.
Okay.
Now, he did not mention PvP vendors. Just give us back the vendors, man. Like, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. Everybody's wanted vendors forever. Just give us the vendors back. Like, come on. Like, just stop with this bullshit where you're like, just give us back the vendors. Like the pseudo vendor stuff that we get with like the weekly quest rewards, it's not good enough. Parceling it out and telling us what items we want first so we don't make a bad decision is boring. Nobody likes it. It's been completely fucking stupid. Nobody even knows what those little quartermasters tokens do anyway. Like, it's a waste of fucking time. Just give us the actual PvP tokens or PvP vendors and let us buy the gear that we want. It's simple. It worked for 10 years. Literally 10 years this worked, and now we're changing it for no fucking reason. Give me a break.
Now, it would be impossible and, in fact, irresponsible to engage in any kind of philosophical discussion around community feedback without digging into the topic of class design.
Okay.
Now, we've been hearing, really for years now, since Warlords and Legion, a steady amount of feedback from the community about the direction of class design, and with a particular focus on the topic of so-called class pruning, and the removal of abilities in many cases, or moving abilities from baseline to spec-specific, or moving them to other systems like PvP talents. And while at its core we do think that there was a lot of good work done there in terms of removing redundant abilities, pulling back from some homogenization that led to nearly every class and spec having multiple forms of crowd control. Or
this is true, by the way. Like, there was classes were so homogenous in Mists of Pandaria in terms of their functions and like what they could do. It was too much. Like, there was just too many. Like, every class should not have 3 CCs, 2 heals, and 1 immunity. It was ridiculous.
Utility that actually hurt class uniqueness. A consistent point of feedback has been the concern that we've gone too far.
Yes.
And after a lot of reflection and ongoing discussion, ultimately I would like to say that we agree with that feedback. There are places where in Warlords and in Legion, we were probably too focused on button count as a measure of complexity, when I think there's a lot more nuance to it than that.
Yes.
And that led to us pulling back a bit farther than we probably ought to have. And so as we engage in discussions about the future of class design, as we look beyond, you know, the current content update to future expansion and even beyond, and we're asking what we want to do, where we want to take classes next, that feedback that we've heard really helps shape those discussions in a lot of ways. And so we look at some abilities that we removed that reduced overall button count, but actually probably did more harm than good in the act of taking them away. One example that comes to mind for me is something like Alter Time for mages, which was a fun, super flavorful and thematic ability that allowed for some masterfully skillful plays. Also allowed for some masterfully skillful ways of getting yourself killed if you misused it.
That's right.
A lot of players probably
Dude, Hansel loved that move.
You know,
everybody did. Every good mage loved that ability. Like, actually, yeah, I mean, like, the crazy thing, like, Humble Dip, no, I mean, this is the thing, is that they, like, I feel like they kind of know, like, Ian, I don't think Ian is incompetent. I think that Ian knows what's going on. And I think really, like, let's look at what they're actually saying. They're basically saying that they're designing the game around, like, these metrics, right? Like button count, like participation, etc., right? And that's the problem that they've been having, is they've been designing the game around quantitative measures when what really engages a player is something that's beyond quantitative measures. That's what it is. And so I'm really glad that he's saying this. This is fucking amazing.
I'm surprised they didn't use Eyes of the Beast as an example, too.
Well, Eyes of the Beast, like, what are some of the other examples? Like, in my opinion, I think Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm were like the peak of class design. Like, classes felt complete in Wrath of the Lich King. Really?
Mop, dude.
There's so many abilities,
I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say.
I know.
I don't care what you think. Mop was almost the pinnacle of class design. It was awesome. It was fun. Mop was good. I know you don't like pandas. I know you didn't like the Shaw bullshit. But the classes were fun. I don't give a fuck, dude.
They were fun because they were extremely complex, and it was something you could do because you'd played the game since Vanilla WoW. The classes were too complex. There was too much homogenization. There were too many abilities that were going on. They needed to streamline some point of it. Like, you can't just continue adding more and more abilities into the game. Like, there was too many.
If you looked at it, you're like, I'm not totally sure when and where I'd want to use this. That was fine. Many players probably didn't even have it bound. And it was realizations like that led to us removing it, but I'm not sure that mages are better or more fun, or that WoW class design as a whole is better for not having Alter Time somewhere in the mix.
I'm sure it's not.
Now, that ability's not going to come back tomorrow, but it's the exact kind of thing that we are talking about in terms of what direction we want to head in the longer term. Of course, there are also some more challenging areas of discussion where there are no quick fixes or solves. We look at something like warrior stances, and certainly as we've been going back and diving into Classic along with the rest of you, there's no question there was something thematic and unique about stance swapping and the way that whole system played out originally. But I think at this point, even when stances were around, they hadn't been required to use abilities for quite a long time. There's a certain point where we think it would likely be too jarring for a bunch of warriors to log in one day and discover that you actually can't pummel unless you're in the appropriate stance, or that you can't charge, or or hamstring or the like. But how can we offer a sense of identity? How can we offer a sense of uniqueness?
Blizzard needs to stop worrying about confusing their players. Oh, well, it's going to be they're going to get confused. We can't have the vendors. They'll be confused. We won't be able to find them. Oh, well, we're going to do class changes. What do you, how jarring do you think that it is whenever you log on and your artifact weapon doesn't work? I mean, there's a million different ways of the game being jarring, and that's fine. It's the way it goes.
Goes along with
yeah,
what
even
that
you
used to
get
represent.
confused, man, during duels.
Well,
You're like, oh shit, I wanted to pummel. I'm not in fucking Berserker. Oh shit.
Right, yeah, and yeah, because I haven't played it enough, right? And then that creates an amount of understanding, right? An amount of I guess skill and practice that I haven't done, right? And then that means
the question is, do you like that or not?
Personally, I don't like the idea of being in different stances to use abilities. I always thought it was redundant and just pointless and stupid. I didn't like it. In my opinion, I think Mists of Pandaria was probably the best point for stances, and I like that a lot. And each stance would allow you to do different things, even though you could use your abilities into different stances. Yeah, I didn't like it.
You pissed them off, dude. Look at him.
Well, I don't care. I mean, I played Warrior for over 10 years. I'm entitled to my opinion. Okay, let's go back to the video.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Those are the sorts of questions that we're asking. And speaking of identity, I think we've talked a lot about class identity in the foregoing years. But reflecting on those efforts, there are ways in which we've probably actually furthered spec identity at the expense of class identity in some cases. As we moved abilities from class-wide to being specific in a number of cases, we've perhaps gone a bit too far away from that core choice the players make when they're looking at character creation, looking at character select, and they decide whether they want to be a mage or a hunter or a shaman or a rogue. And then, ideally, specialization should truly be just that. It should be taking a class and picking a facet of it that excites you the most, with which you identify the most, and doubling down on that and becoming a master of that.
Dude, he's
Instead,
fucking learning!
For many classes or some specs, that choice entails almost turning into an all-new class with entirely different abilities and only a little bit of overlap. And that's an area where we actually would like to also pull back from. So as we think to the future, we want to find ways of reestablishing class as a foundation, whether that's taking some abilities that are now spec-specific and spreading them back out so that the entire class has access to them, even if they're kind of off-role for you. There's value in that hybridity and that utility.
This is great.
But also looking to all new systems that we introduce down the line and trying to anchor them at the level of class rather than spec. Because, again, class identity means class identity, not spec identity.
Absolutely.
And
fuck yeah.
Really, with regard to that, we want to underscore the importance of class identity and class design to World of Warcraft. I think a point that players have made on many occasions is that, to many, the way your class plays and feels is essential. It's one of the most important things in World of Warcraft, period. Your class is the lens through which you view the world.
Yeah.
It's how you interact with the world.
This is
how
literally
you
what we
engage with
said.
all of your enemies and your allies. And if you're playing a class that you don't feel is satisfying, a class whose fantasy doesn't resonate with you, that's absolutely going to hinder your enjoyment of all the rest of the world.
That's why it's one of the big reasons why I didn't like
WoD. It
WoD.
truly is a top priority for us.
Warriors suck.
And I want to thank everyone, continue to thank you for your ongoing feedback. And yes, your criticism where appropriate. I think it's helped us to sharpen and focus our discussions around this topic. And it really is a powerful guide to us as we look to the future of World of Warcraft and class design in particular.
Holy shit.
And last but certainly not least, you can't talk about what's ahead for WoW this summer without talking about WoW Classic.
Okay, all right, here we go.
It's been an honor and it's been incredibly exciting for the entire team to see everyone's passion around this, as tens of thousands of folks have jumped into our closed beta to help give us feedback, report bugs, point out inconsistencies, and hundreds of thousands of players have helped us with our stress tests, all in the lead up to launching Classic on August 27th.
Fuck yeah.
Now, we've had a couple of big stress tests as you've broken our servers. We think we've done
You're
some
welcome.
work to make sure they're going to hold up. But we'll see for sure just around the corner on June 19th, where we're going to have another stress test, our biggest yet, as we try to simulate what that day one rush is going to be like and get our servers to a place where they're going to hold up for everybody in just a couple months. So, all in all, really, this is going to be an incredible summer for World of Warcraft.
Fuck yeah.
We have just around the
That's
corner
great.
on June 25th, Rise of Azshara dropping.
Awesome.
And then 2 months after that, WoW Classic on August 27th. So I hope to see all of you in Azeroth. I can't wait, whether it's Azeroth now or Azeroth back then. Thank you.
Okay. Fuck yeah. That's amazing. This is actually some good content. I mean, Ian was literally just giving us good answers and stuff like that. That's awesome.